Hello folks, this is Rodolfo from MiningMath support team, and we are quite excited about the release of this video because it's all about blending. Blending is something very important for the mining industry. We received a lot of feedback and comments telling, oh, when you're going to implement these in SimSched, how we can do blending with SimSched, is there a way to do blending with SimSched? That we even recorded a video that teaches how to manipulate your block model in order to deceive SimSched and provide solutions with some blending criteria, obeying some regulations and parameters imported by the user. Not imported, but right, obeying some criteria, not that you put this information for the software. But now we are talking about reality. We're talking about something that it's uh, that you can tell the software the solution should be like this, and the software will do. So this is still a prototype and just implemented for SimSched Pilotmizer. Pilotmizer because it's simpler, the algorithm it's easier to deal. So we usually everything that we're going to implement in DBS we do in Pilotmizer first. But basically the idea is that you can input minimum or maximum bounds for grade values and tell the software that, well, you should respect this parameter, otherwise it will lose value or it will penalize in some way. So this is how it works. The solution will have this criteria, we will obey these parameters, and that's what we're going to show in this table. So the first thing we did was running a free case to see what would be the grade for gold, which is the element that we are analyzing for blending here. And you can see on this column, right, the following results with a little bit less than 1.5 million of in discounting cash flow. And after we applied a blending restriction, a scenario with a blending restriction with a minimum bound for 0.2 and a maximum bound for 0.43 for average grade of gold. And you can see, right, that the result indeed matches the maximum bound imposed by the user, which is because it's closer, right? It's closer to the average grade of the free case, so that by working with the upper bound, it should deliver it should deliver a solution that either respects the blending constraint and delivers a maximizing discounting cash flow. Obviously, because it's the software is working with the lower grades, maybe they justify the tonnage, the increased tonnage for dump, right? As more material maybe had to be mined to compensate the loss in the grade, because not many richer blocks were allowed to do so. But obviously penalize the undiscounted cash flow as you're working with poor grades, and this obviously explains that. So this is one situation, right? Grades are controlled, undiscounted cash flow, different situation. And moving on, we worked with a blending constraint for richer blocks, allowing just richer blocks to be mined in this situation, imposing 0.75 as a minimum bound and 1 for a maximum bound for a gold grade. And you can see here an opposite situation comparing to the previous one, because the lower bound is actually closer to the average grade of the free case. So it's reasonable that it will work with this grade, so that it could find more blocks to mine. But in exchange to that, it's working with just richer blocks. The tonnage and the dump tonnage, the process and dump tonnage are smaller, which reflects the undiscounted cash flow smaller than the free case. Although it's comparable, right? It's almost equal to the blending for poor material, because we're dealing with richer material over here, right? So here we are exposing just a simplified version of the whole test that we did. We didn't talk about the penalty values for simplification, but Actually, this is the full table, right? We run two cases for each blending situation by applying different penalty values. So what is the penalty values? It's arbitrary value that the user can have control over the blending situation. So the higher the value the user imposes, the more likely is the software to find a solution that respects the blending constraints. Otherwise, it will penalize in value. So in a different situation where you put smaller penalty values, you will see that the software prefers to work with flexible blending restrictions and prioritize more of the value of the project, which you can see right on these situations. So moving seeing over here, although the parameters are not being respected, not are being completely respected, right? They have some direction. They are not free in this situation, but they are a bit of out of the range imposed by the user. But the great difference on the discounted cash flow, as you can see here, the gains are very significant both for this situation and for these as well, with significant reduction on the average grade because you impose a lower penalty values. But you can see, right, the undiscounted cash flow is significant increase comparing to a situation where the penalty value is bigger, right? You're not allowed to disobey this restriction, but you will lose undiscounted cash flow because of that. But so this is cool because the user can have this control to whether or not prioritize one another aspect. But the difference, it's not just about here on the grades or on the discounted cash flow on the information reported by the software. The difference also applies for the blocks decision because you're running a totally different scenario with different parameters, and this influence on the blocks decision and the shape of the pit as well. So as you can see here, this is for the free case, right? A pit with the blue representing the ore and red representing the waste. Ore is better centered and at the bottom and in the middle of the pit. So that's it, the free case. And for the next situation, blending, right? Blending was applied, restricting richer ores to be mined, to be directed to the plant. And you can see here that the solution is completely different from the previous one. You can see the blocks can be considered as ore are sparsely populated of the pit. Maybe blocks that weren't being considered as were being considered as waste previously are now being considered as ore due to the blending restriction. So you can see that the preferential areas, the ore preferential areas are quite different from the free case as well, right? It's not very centered. It's a bit sparse and so on. So moving on for the last situation, you will see a totally different scenario as well. As you can see, the pit is pretty much smaller than the previous case due to the restriction to mine poor ores. So right, the cubbage also tells that yeah, little bit smaller than the free case. Yeah, significant smaller than the free case as well. And well, you can see that because the richer ores are the only allowed to be mined to be selected as ore for this situation, the blocks, the blue blocks are again on the center of the pit, right? The richer ones being located right over here, which is similar to the free case because you don't have any blending restrictions. So the software will obviously search for richer blocks in this situation. So yeah, I just showed over here 3 pits. They represent the blending with the pits with blending. They are these two, just because of simplification, right? But just to show that the scenarios are different when you apply different constraints and the execution runs and consider again the possible solutions that respect all of these constraints. So that's it. I hope that you enjoy to watch and see that blending is now something doable with SimSched, although it's still a prototype. But well, place your comments and give your thumbs up and keep following us with recent advancements as SimSched is evolving to incorporate more tools in order to increase the fidelity of its solutions, making mine planning a planning more intuitive and closer to the operational reality of the project. So that's it. Yeah, keep following us and hope to see you on the next time.